And I tell them all the time. I've written a long post about it, but I'll say it again. Those page scores they're not built for WordPress. They're not built for any CMS in particular. They're just general guidelines, and some of them are valid and apply to all websites, and some of them don't apply to all websites. And most people don't know which things matter and which things don't. And if you try to optimize your site to get that 100% score, you actually might be making your site slower. So
yeah, I remember having that discussion with you with a client of mine, because you were like, the only thing that matters is the page load time. And we brought the page load time from 8 seconds to like between 0.8 and 1.2 seconds. And the client was like, but we still have a B on this page score. How do we make it a 100 or an A or whatever? And I was like, but your page load speeds are excellent. Like, they don't get much better than that. Heroes are an inspiring group of people. Every one of them, from the larger-than-life comic book heroes you see on the big silver screen to the everyday heroes that let us live the privileged lives we do. Every hero has a story to tell. The doctor saving lives at your local hospital, the war veteran down the street who risked his lives for our freedom, the police officers and firefighters who risk their safety to ensure ours. Every hero is special and every story worth telling. But there is one class of heroes that I think is often ignored. The entrepreneur, the creator, the producer, the ones who look at the problems in this world and think to themselves, you know what? I can fix that. I can help people, and I can make a difference. Then they go out and do exactly that by creating a new product or introducing a new service. Some go on to change the world, others make a world of difference to their customers. Welcome to The Hero Show. Join us as we pull back the masks of the world's finest heropreneurs and learn the secrets to their powers, their success, and their influence, so you can use those secrets to attract more sales, make more money, and experience more freedom in your business. I'm your host, Richard Matthews, and we are on in 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome back to The Hero Show. My name is Richard Matthews, and today I am on the line with Johnny. And Johnny is the founder of Johnny VPS, a performance web host. And what was the name of the blog, Johnny? I want to make sure I get that one right.
Johnny.
WP Johnny, which is performance stuff for WordPress. And we actually got connected a while back because you helped take over a lot of my clients' websites from WordPress managed hosting stuff. And all of my clients are super excited with the speed and performance that you guys have been able to provide there. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you guys are known for, what you do professionally, why clients come to you?
Yeah, I've been on the web for, I think it's coming close to 20 years. So I have a long background in IT and networking and development and design, and I mean I've done it all. At some point, once you start building big enough sites, or your sites get big, or your clients get big, we started dealing with speed issues. And that was a whole other can of worms that you typically don't see with smaller clients because their sites are so simple. They don't have the millions of traffic. But, once we started dealing with bigger clients, we had no choice but to figure out how to give them higher performance, how to speed up their sites and speed up their servers. And this scaling issue started, I think about 2010 was when I started dealing with sites that were just getting unruly. And most sites back then, if you don't get over 10,000 users or the 100,000 users a month mark, you don't see these issues. But once you reach that point, all your plugins start to come apart, all your themes come apart. You start to realize anything that's making inefficient database queries slows down. So we had no choice but to go back and just rewrite everything from scratch. We redid our themes from scratch. There were many plugins that were either abandoned or just weren't written all that well. We redid that, and then came to the server part. Around then, virtualization technology was it was becoming the new thing. So back then, you either had cheap, crappy shared hosting or the super expensive dedicated server. There was nothing in between.
Yeah.
So, fortunately, the whole VPS thing came on. People figured a way to virtualize servers, which means you would take a giant dedicated server, chop it up into smaller chunks, more affordable chunks for that, for the medium-sized businesses. And we started optimizing on there. And the software wasn't so friendly at the time. So we really everything was very manual. It was not user friendly at all. You didn't have all these cute services that, you know, you pay $10 a month for and gives you an interface and all that. We had to do everything manually. Command line, tools didn't exist. You have to code everything from scratch. So that's
Yeah.
where I came from.
That's how you got started into the virtual private server space. What is it sort of like now? Now that you guys, I know Johnny VPS has sort of taken off a little bit and growing, and just the hosting space is in a different world now than it was.
Yeah, definitely. WordPress has gotten so evolved. It's gotten so much more complicated. There's more bloat, more features, more functions, and there's more users. I think back then, WordPress was more. It was still like for developers and designers only, or webmasters. You know, people who are very tech savvy, and now it's starting to be used by people who don't even know anything about the internet. They don't even know what a website is, but they know what WordPress is. You know, they don't understand the idea of a CMS. So for them, the website world is WordPress, Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, Shopify. That's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, a lot's changed. Things have gotten more bloated. And you know, it's nice because we have this long background of dealing with performance, and now that it's becoming a trend, people are open to paying more for it. Before, nobody wanted to pay more than $10 a month for hosting. It was unheard of. You know, now people are willing to pay $50, $100 just to host one site because they appreciate the speed. And to some degree, higher performance servers have also come down in price, right? It used to be $5,000 a month for anything that was fast, and now it's much more affordable. For $20 a month, you can get a pretty solid server.
Yeah, and I know like our clients, we went from one of these managed services that's nothing wrong with them, but once they hit a certain size, we couldn't get our page load speeds under like 8 seconds. And we moved them over to the virtual private servers that you guys offer, and just the better server all by itself brought their page load times under, you know, a second and a half, which is really good for an e-commerce store. That means more money in the bank. So it's really potent stuff.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Oh, definitely. It makes all the difference.
So we talk pretty regularly on the show about our entrepreneurs, like your origin story, your particular origin story, right? Every hero has their origin story. It's where you started to realize that you were different. Maybe you had superpowers, and maybe you could use it to help bring value to other people. How did you get started in the entrepreneur space? You said you've been working online for 20 years. How did you get in to become an entrepreneur?
I was always fascinated by business, and what first drew me to it was because I thought I could make a lot of money, and I think that's the first appeal. You see these books, I don't know, like Rich Dad Poor Dad or something, these gimmick generic books, and you think, oh, okay, if I do this, I'm gonna make a gajillion dollars. And so I started my IT business like that, and I made some pretty good money when I was really young. I bought a house at like 20 years old, and it was good, but it just felt like you had to work your life away.
Yeah.
So then I pivoted, and in one defining moment, I broke up with my longtime girlfriend. She complained that I wasn't spending enough time with her, and I was a total workaholic and this and that. And she left. And when she left, my entire empire just crumbled. It collapsed inwards on itself. And I just had an epiphany. I said, you know what? I never want to be a workaholic anymore. I want to find a different kind of business where I'm not grinding away, and not only that, but it feels fun and feels like I'm empowering people. Back then, I was doing huge corporate contracts, and it just felt like these million or $billion companies were buying out my life at $100 or $150 an hour. That's what it felt like. They were buying my life out. So I said, you know what? I don't want to do that. It has to be fun. It has to be, and it can't be like on-call work where they call me and it's always an emergency, and I feel like a computer paramedic. So I started working in the online world. You can work remotely. I was traveling a lot and working from I was working from Europe, from South America, from Asia.
Nice.
Yeah, so I changed my lifestyle a bit, and if I could say my superpower, um, I mean, aside from being able to grind and have no life and read 1,000 pages about any material, I think that's one power. But I think the real superpower is to just whatever client that you work with, whatever industry that you work with, like you have to spend the time to know what makes the difference. And
For that client.
yes, for that client, and to know what makes the difference in their industry. I think that as a web designer or as an SEO person or as an ads person, you always feel like your power is the answer to all their problems.
Yeah.
And it's a trap. I think it's a trap. You have to solve anybody's problems. I try to shut myself up and let them do all the talking. And once they've talked long enough, actually the answer just emerges very naturally. Um, and that's how we do our design work, our development work, or when we did our marketing and our SEO and our ads and any of that. We just let the client talk themselves in circles and about their industry and their competitors and what things their customers like the most about them. And the answer comes very naturally. I don't think it comes from us personally.
It's funny. I was watching the movie Knives Out with my wife last night, and one of the
Oh yeah,
lines in the
I saw that.
movie, the main detective character says that, you know, we just follow the arc of the truth, or you follow the arc of the story, and the truth unerringly lands at my feet. Right? It's like, this kind of sounds like the same
Yeah,
kind of thing. That if you just let the story play, if you just let them tell it is, the truth will land at your feet,
yeah.
and let you know what you actually need to do to help those clients.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's like I'm a passive observer. He's like I'm just gonna be a passive observer. I'm not gonna be all over your business. But yeah, I think it helps, and it's a whole lot less effort in trying to find solutions. You just have to sit there, observe, try some things, and you know, usually any business that I've seen that has grown a lot, they've just listened to their customers, really. Your customers will tell you what they want, and then just do it.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, boil it down, your superpower is you listen to your customers and then do what they ask.
Yep.
Makes it sound easier than it is. Not gonna lie.
Yeah. Well, I think that's how it is, right? You spend all these years learning all kinds of tricks and tools and tactics and methods, and when you finally figure it out, it's actually it's logic, it's common sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So my next question for you, if the superpower is, you know, we can boil it down to listening and implementing with your clients, the flip side of that is your fatal flaw. So just like Superman has his kryptonite, you know, we all have something that we struggle with in our, you know, with our own selves that we struggle with. What is that for you? And more importantly, how have you dealt with that? You know, whatever that thing is that's held you back in your business. So people who might suffer from something similar can learn a bit from your mistakes.
Yeah. I've wasted a lot of time chasing problems that didn't need to be solved.
So
So,
how do you determine when a problem doesn't need to be solved? Like, when do you figure that out?
well, okay, yeah, I have an OCD perfectionist personality. So, for example, let's say a design problem that doesn't need to be solved. We'll design a site for a client, and they love it. They say, Johnny, I love it. Launch it tomorrow. We're ready to go. And I'll say no. I'll say no because something about the menu bothers me. I want to rebalance it. So I'll sit there nudging it left and right, moving it a few pixels this way, that way, you know, subtly changing the colors, something like that, wasting a whole bunch of time. Or or it's a programming issue where you know, one of our programmers solved the issue, but it wasn't the way I wanted. So I'll sit there and insist that we try to get it right, the most perfect, proper efficient way possible. Even though the client's happy, the programmer's happy, on paper, the problem is solved. But for me, I like to go back in and go, let's open it up. Let's see if we can write it a little differently. So that would be my favorite.
Let's see if I can put my little stamp on it. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I've done that thing with the menu before, where like everyone else is fine with it, and I'm sitting here like, maybe if we adjusted a few pixels to the left. And my wife tells me sometimes I obsess a little over the pixels on the screen being in the wrong spot, so I totally get you there. So my next question for you has to do with your common enemy. So the way we frame the common enemy question is basically when you bring clients on, it's something that you fight against with them, like their mindset, something that you have to constantly help your clients overcome in order for them to get better, faster results. Maybe if you had a magic wand and you could just remove it from all your clients, you know that you could solve their problems better, cheaper, faster. What would that be for you?
Well, in the WordPress speed world, it's clients that are trying to optimize for those page scores. For, you know, like GT
I know how that goes.
GT metrics, ping down the Google page insights. And I tell them all the time, I've written a long post about it, but you know, I'll say it again. Those page scores they're not built for WordPress. They're not built for any CMS in particular. They're just general guidelines, and some of them are valid and apply to all websites, and some of them don't apply to all websites. And most people don't know which things matter and which things don't. And if you try to optimize your site to get that 100% score, you actually might be making your site slower. So
yeah, I remember having that discussion with you with a client of mine, because you were like, the only thing that matters is the page load time. And we brought the page load time from 8 seconds to like between 0.8 and 1.2 seconds. And the client was like, but we still have a B on this page score. How do we make it a 100 or an A or whatever? And I was like, but your page load speeds are excellent. Like they don't get much better than that. So yeah. I assume you deal with that all the time then.
All the time. You know, and I give people, I tell them, look, this is my professional opinion, and this is what I would do. This is what I would recommend for even my most high-end, most expensive clients, even my brother. If it was my own family member, this is what I would recommend. But if you want something different, I'll gladly do it for you. But I'm just going to lay it out for you. I'll lay out all the information. I'll give you the links. You read on your own, or don't read it. I'll do exactly what you say, but at this point, it's your choice. You know, it's not what I want to do. It's not what I recommend.
Yeah. It's an interesting conversation you have to have with the speed and performance, because it's like I don't know what you call it. It's that whole like these things have been propped up as like experts in the space without actually, like, they're not actually experts at the thing that you're trying to accomplish. So they're just sort of generic.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, it's like the type of patient that goes online, reads WebMD, and then goes into their doctor and argues with their doctor, right? So
yeah. Absolutely. So the flip side of that, right? If you're constantly fighting against those kind of things with your speed stuff, what is it that you actually fight for on the other side, right? So you're driving a force, just like Spider-Man fights to save New York, or Batman fights to save Gotham, or Google fights to index and categorize all the world's information. What is it that you guys are fighting for over at Johnny VPS?
The way I feel about it is that we're not trying to save the world. We're just trying to save our clients. We prioritize everything that we do, anything that we invent or create or strategize about. It's for our existing client base because we want to help them. They're the most important. I don't care about new clients or somebody else dying across the street. That's not my concern. I care about our clients first. But once we find the cure, we share it with the world. So that's my driving force.
I like that.
Yeah, we help our people, and then we share our findings with the rest of the world, so that other server guys or other programmers or other speed experts can also help their clients in the same manner. And whatever they do with it, good for them. And And I hope likewise other people who have found the cure can also share what they found with us. You know, so I feel like we're a bunch of scientists, basically.
Yeah. So is that how your sort of your two brands tie together, where you have the VPS where you guys, you know, do all the creation and learning with your clients, and then the blog where you guys share your findings?
Pretty much, pretty much. Yeah. So
That's a cool model.
you know what? It's a lot of fun because we do have a development arm of our business, but it's not advertised. We typically don't, we're not looking for new development clients. We have enough referrals, but it's really cool because we get to work with the coolest sites, the coolest projects, and they give us challenges that we wouldn't be able to find anywhere else. And with what we learn, we share as much as we can.
Absolutely. So my next question for you is more practical, right? We call it the hero's tool belt. Maybe you got a big magical hammer like Thor, or a bulletproof vest like your neighborhood police officer. What is one of the tools that you use sort of on an everyday basis that you couldn't run your business without? Maybe that's, something that you guys use internally, or a client management tool, or something you guys use on all your projects, just practical tool that you guys just absolutely love and use every day in your business.
Got it. Yes. So for the development side, I think all our programmers, they like Visual Studio Code. And then of course there's like certain extensions for them. They like that. They use that for all their coding and programming. Flywheel Local, that's a really useful, super simple program you use so you can, run a local web server right off your computer. So you can do your development, your staging work, all your coding, and then they'll use GitHub. They'll push it to GitHub, just to to update their plugins or themes.
So just out of curiosity, do you recommend that most people, like most businesses, have some sort of local development instead of actually like changing things on their main website, like testing plugins and that kind of stuff?
I'm of the mindset, personally for me, I don't believe in staging. I push it live. I don't care. If a template breaks, I'm usually prepared for it. If WooCommerce starts to look weird after the update, I know where to go to restore the styles or turn off whatever new styles that got put on. And I think there are many developers like that. It's just that some of them do it in a more logical and methodical way, and others are just doing it because they're lazy. So
yeah,
that changes.
It's interesting because depending on who you talk to in the development space, some people are like, hey, if you make a change to your live website without testing and staging first, that's like cowboy coding and you're going to blow everything up and you deserve whatever money you lose. And other people are like, if you do it safely, it's just fine. So I was just curious what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, I feel like for most changes, I mean, here's the thing, right? It's like, why do we even have staging? Some people have staging sites because it allows them to develop something and have a temporary place for it until it's ready to go live. I think that's a really legit use for staging, because you just need some other place to do your draft work. But if you're using staging to mimic a live site or a live server, that's going to be very different, especially for the larger sites. For the really big sites, you kind of don't know. You don't know if it's really going to work, and the staging environment doesn't match the traffic of the live environment, or there's just certain things that you can't, for whatever reason.
You can't actually stage 1 million visitors to come to your staging site and see what impact it has.
Exactly. I mean, there are many other scenarios too. I just don't remember it off the top of my head right now. And also, I wanted to say too, because we do development, we do web hosting. For web hosting stuff, I like. It's called, the acronym is WHMCS. It's a web host billing system. So I think that's been really essential. We connect all our servers to it. And I will say, once you have to manage over a certain number of servers, that software has been instrumental to help all of us, all the staff and admins, be able to jump quickly in and out of different servers. We use Slack as well for our own internal communication and also for our clients. So we have a cool thing where we have a Slack channel for our dedicated VPS clients, and that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been fun being in there for our stuff as well. But yeah, the WHMCS, you guys use it, and then one of our we have a Mac Mini in the cloud, and that company that we have our Mac Mini hosted with uses it too. And it's nice to have, like, you know, as a client, to have the same sort of like software setup to get in and manage your servers. So I think it works both ways, at least if you guys like it from a company standpoint. It's also really easy to use from our side, the people who are consuming.
Yeah, oh yeah, it's great.
So my next question for you has to do with your own personal heroes, right? So just like Frodo had Gandalf, or Luke had Obi-Wan, or like you mentioned, Robert Kiyosaki had his rich dad. Who were some of your heroes? Were they real-life mentors, speakers, authors, peers who may be a couple years ahead of you? And how important were they to what you've accomplished so far?
Okay. My daily heroes are the guys I work with. I learn a lot from them, and they've taught me a lot. And so I would say the first guy comes to mind is Walter Lopez. So he's a Genesis developer. Well, he's a WordPress developer, and he specializes in anything with Genesis theme. He can work with all themes and plugins and all that, but he's basically our main senior developer, and I mean, just everything. Code auditing, code cleaning, code refactoring, doing custom stuff, and just fixing things that even, you know, there's mature plugins on the market that still have their own little mistakes or errors or whatever, and he's been able to go in there and fix that for us. So I've learned a lot from him, and I can't say enough about him. He's my hero. He's my everyday hero. The other guy, Asfihani, one of our longest server admins. He's in Indonesia. He has a background in enterprise web hosting. He's come from one of the really big companies out there. I forgot the name right now. And he's been great. He's built a lot of our server stack and adjusted and supported. And when we got hacked, he was the one that was able to go in there and quickly, you know, find out where it was coming from, which user account, which file, which processes, et cetera, et cetera. So he saved that. And then another guy who I think nobody knows, and his name's Craig. And Craig is he's a British guy. I think he's living in Thailand. He's in Thailand right now, just being an expat. And he's a designer. He's really saved my life a lot. You know, I think people really underestimate the power of great design, especially when it comes to development, or creating ads that really get the clicks, that really get your attention. So he's helped me in our internal business. He's developed a lot of our websites and our graphics and all that, but he's also done his magic for some of our clients. And I absolutely love design, and I'm extremely OCD about it. I'm like you, I'm like a pixel pusher. So to have a designer that understands what I want without me having to spell out everything. And we've worked together for like many years now, so I've lost track, but those are the main three. Those are the big three for me.
That's awesome. And is that your whole team, or is that just a small portion of it?
I would say this is our core team. Like, these are there's the four, these are the four of us that know each other. And then there's a few other characters, like, but they only know me, or they only know Craig, or they only know Walter.
That makes sense.
Yeah, this is the core four, the fantastic four.
Awesome. I love that you hold your team in such high regard. That's cool place to be. So I got one last question for you for the interview, and it's about your guiding principles, right? So top 1 or 2 principles or actions that you use regularly today that you think contribute to the success and influence that you guys enjoy. Maybe something you wish you'd known when you first started out as an entrepreneur all these years ago.
I would say you have to know your internal work rhythm. So I've liked to say this before with other people. I'm a project kind of guy. And there's project people, and then there's like consistent people, like the routine people. So, and what I mean by that, there are people who work really well, every day. Every day they put in whatever their set number, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, and they're in and out, and they do a fantastic job. They're always reliable. They're always dependable. They catch all the details, and they don't miss a day. So there's that kind of person, and they work really well in that structure. And then there's people like me. I do fantastic work for 3 months where it looks like I'm working 20 hours a day. It probably is. And then I'm just completely lazy and I disappear off the grid for 3 months.
And you're worthless.
Yeah. I'm worthless. Everything is delegated. I don't check my emails. But that's just me. Yeah, I'm not consistent at all when I'm inspired and motivated and charged. I just explode. Everything happens all at once. And after that, I go eat ice cream. I do sports. I travel. I just disappear. So that unfortunately has been the most productive way for me. And I think everyone they have to know, right? And you have to know this about yourself, but you also have to know this about your coworkers. And if you're working with a project person, you have to understand that they're going to do incredible work, but at any moment, when they switch off, they're off. You can't get mad at them. You can't yell at them. You can't demand anything, and then just wait until they come back on again. And then there's other people who, they're like the everyday people. You have them for a set number of hours and that's it. And once it's 30 minutes past their off time, they don't pick up their phone anymore. So you have to respect that as well.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I think I'm probably more on the project side too, if you're making that dichotomy where I don't think I've ever gone quite to the whole 3 months thing, but I'm definitely like, I will push through a whole project until it's done. And then once it's done, I'm like, I'm off until I got the next thing.
Yeah.
Right. And, right. Yeah. I'll go and play or do something else. I spend a lot of time with my kids nowadays. But yeah, I totally feel you there. So that basically wraps up the interview. I got one more thing we do. Not really a question, more of we call it a hero's challenge. It's pretty simple. It's basically this: do you have someone in your life and your network that you think has a cool entrepreneurial story? Who are they? First names are fine. And why do you think they should come share their story with the guests or with the audience here on our show?
Well, I'd have to nominate Walter. This guy has sat with me in the coding trenches. He's helped, him and I were up late night together trying to solve clients' issues, a server outage, code breaking, website launch, this and that. We've sat with each other through some really difficult, really stressful projects. But yeah, he would be the guy. What's his story? I think you got to get it from him. But
that's why why do you think he should share his story? But if he's got a cool story, we'll see about getting him on.
I think he's just a really great person. And aside from being a good person, it's the way that he looks at problems that you feel like anybody can solve any problem. He's a very I don't know how to say it. I guess you could say understated genius.
That's cool.
He can look at anything and find the answer, but not in like a complicated show-offy way. He just kind of looks at it and goes, "Oh, okay, well, let's try this," or "I think it's this way. I think it's that way," and explain it to you where even you feel like you could have solved it yourself.
Awesome. So at this point, thank you so much for coming on the show, Johnny. Really appreciate it. Where can people find you if they're interested in maybe having you guys host their sites or, get some speed performance stuff done, or maybe even get custom development done? Where can they find you? And then second question, who are the types of clients that should reach out if they're listening and say, hey, I think I need to reach out to Johnny?
So I have my WordPress blog. It's wpjohnny.com. I review anything related to plugins, but also I love designs and I review everything about WordPress performance, servers, cache plugins, different speed tactics, but we also cover a lot of design work and then just business plugins, everyday plugins that would help any business or WordPress site owner. And then we have our johnnyvps.com. That's our web hosting service. So best kind of clients for us, really, if you know what we do, you want speed, you want performance, or at the very least, you just want to talk to someone who's going to give you the honest scoop on what they think you should do with your site, we're for you. You can find me on Facebook groups. I'm always out there giving free help and whatnot. You can find me on my website. We have a YouTube channel. But we'll help everybody we can. And if you want to hire us or have us, consult with us, we're happy to help you out any way that we can. Any size, no job too big or small, basically.
Yeah, and if I can give you just a plug as well, because like the way that it went down for us is I was actually doing some research on speed for a client, and found your big long post that you were talking about. I actually read through that whole thing, and then I saw you posting in one of the Facebook groups that I was in. Reached out to you, and we got some of our sites moved over, and just immediately had tremendous impact on our site speed. And found out later that some of my other like pals in the business industry were using your service as well. And I was like, how come you didn't tell me about Johnny? Right? I needed to know sooner. So this is, for my audience out there, if you're listening and you are, if your site's not loading in under like 3 seconds, reach out to Johnny, right? Talk to him about their VPS service. If you do anything where you're exchanging goods or services for money and you use the internet in any way, he could probably help you get your sites faster, and it translates into more revenue almost every time. So that's my plug for Johnny VPS. And so with that, thank you so much for coming on, Johnny. You have any final words of wisdom for our audience before we hit the stop record button here?
Just have fun and take a break every now and then. That's it.
Absolutely. I like the idea of taking a break. We talk about that all the time. Permission to play. So thank you, Johnny. Appreciate having you on here.
Okay. Thank you, Richard. Thanks for having me.